We see it all the time, hyped up high schoolers who scouts deem as the next superstar or the next generational talent. But very rarely do we ever see these predictions come to fruition. In this video, I want to take a look at 3 former 5-star prospects who at one point looked like they'd be the next big thing in the NBA. But a couple of mishaps and a couple of obstacles got in the way. Or they just mysteriously fell off the radar and saw their draft position severely drop with no explanation. Well, you might think there's no explanation, but there always is. Some of these guys you might recognize. So what went wrong with them? Why weren't they able to capture that success? How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and let's begin. But before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to Roman for sponsoring this video. Do you want to have a better sex life in 2023? Up to 50% of men have symptoms that get in the way of wanting or enjoying sex, but Roman is here to help. They can treat erectile dysfunction in men of all ages so you can perform better in bed. They offer testosterone testing and treatment. Treating low testosterone can help revive your sex drive. Roman also offers discreet wipes that help you last 4 times longer in bed, with no prescription needed. The best part is, you do everything online. No longer do you need to go to a waiting room or take a trip to the pharmacy. It's a straightforward process from the comfort of your own home, where you complete an online visit and your Roman-affiliated medical provider will review your info and make a personalized treatment plan for you. Once everything is finalized, the medication will be delivered straight to your doorstep, just like that. The prescribed medication is safe, effective, and FDA approved, and you'll get fast results and stronger erections. Roman will mail you the medication with free 2-day shipping. Use my unique link below or go to ro.co/AndyHoops to get 20% off your first order today. That's ro.co/AndyHoops for 20% off your order. Vernon Carey. Drafted with the 32nd pick of the 2020 class, Vernon Carey was considered an afterthought. But that wasn't always the case. This man once had every college in the country groveling at his toes, desperately trying to recruit him to play for them. Carey was the number 6 ranked high school player in the country the year before, an absolute stud all throughout high school until college at Duke, where he was named the National Freshman of the Year. He led Duke to a 25-6 record while being the team's leading scorer. Despite his success, he still somehow dropped from a consensus top 10 pick to the 32nd pick. He fell all the way to the 2nd round. The thing is, the day before draft night, he was expected to fall even further. A mock draft by CBS Sports predicted he'd fall to the 59th pick of the class. That's like dead last, basically. Though he didn't fall that much, 32nd is still a huge drop. Heck, even when he got drafted at 32, he was considered the steal of the draft immediately. Cause there was so much confusion on why he fell so much to begin with. It was perplexing. However, diving deeper into the details of his game, you get a much clearer picture. Vernon Carey was a center who was very skilled at what he can do, score in the post. But physically, he was not considered an NBA caliber player. Carey came in overweight to his pre-draft workouts and he looked very slow. I mean, this was always the main criticism of his game. He was slow-footed and had trouble keeping up with anyone who had an ounce of speed. The NBA scouts examined his game closely and considered him as a similar player to Jahlil Okafor, who, as we all know, turned out to be a bust. Carey was essentially a center who was bad at defense and one-dimensional on offense, a combination that scared away teams from taking him early. Plus, when he got measured at the combine, he wasn't as tall or as long as expected. Carey measured in at 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan, neither of which are particularly impressive for a center, especially with his playstyle. Also, due to his lack of speed, he cannot play anything else besides center, yet he's undersized for that position and his skill set. The center position has seen a revival in recent years as some of the best players in the league are big men, but it's still the riskiest position to draft. In order to be a big man that lasts in today's league, you need to have a variety of skills. And if you're not good on defense, you need to make up for that on offense. With all that being said, when the Hornets drafted him, they had faith in him and wanted to develop him. They had time as their team was rebuilding. The team even offered Carey a 4-year, $6.1 million deal, which at the time was the largest amount of money guaranteed to a second-round pick in history. Usually, second-round picks only sign for 1 or 2 years, and if they're good, they get an extension. In case they become really good really quickly, they can re-sign for a bigger payday after 1 or 2 years. In this case though, Carey signing a 4-year deal possibly means he just wants to secure the money now, and perhaps he doesn't believe he could get more money down the road either. Well, turns out he was right. Carey is now hardly an NBA player. In 3 seasons, he played a total of 26 games. It's a good thing he cashed in early. Brandon Boston Jr., aka BJ Boston. It's a name you might recognize if you follow LeBron or Dwayne Wade's sons. BJ attended Sierra Canyon High School, the same high school as Bronny James and Zaire Wade. They were teammates, and BJ was the most highly ranked player on that team. In fact, in the 2020 rankings, he was the 5th best prospect and the #1 shooting guard in the nation. But by the time the 2021 draft rolled around, he dropped a staggering number of spots, from a consensus lottery pick all the way down to the 51st pick. He was selected by the Memphis Grizzlies, and they immediately traded him away, and nowadays he's been warming the bench for the Clippers. So what happened with him? While him and Vernon Carey share a similar story, both being 5-star athletes who were heavily scouted throughout their entire lives, BJ fell short in college. Unlike Carey, who excelled at Duke, BJ floundered at Kentucky really badly. Initially brought on to be the star of the team, he severely struggled, and it got worse as the season progressed. All throughout that year, he got a lot of flack. The fans railed on him constantly, as Kentucky finished with a 9-16 record, their first losing season since 1989. It wasn't just him either. Several Wildcats deleted their Instagram accounts because all the criticism got into their heads. BJ, however, was still optimistic and believed in himself, as he made this tweet. "I don't need no sympathy. I'm a man who steps up to every challenge and face it." Shortly after this tweet, his play regressed to the point where Coach Calipari started to bench him near the end of games. When asked about this from a reporter, Calipari responded, "BJ's just not playing well, but we can lie to kids or we can keep it real. If someone is playing better and tougher than you, they're going to be in there, especially the last 5 to 8 minutes of the game, just how it is. And he knows that, and I told him when I took him out, look man, take pride in your defense. They're coming right at you. And he will, he's a terrific player." Considering BJ was their highest ranked recruit since Skal Labissiere in 2015, he was a huge disappointment. His biggest issue was his lack of strength, even at the college level. BJ struggled to finish at the basket and could not adapt to any sort of contact. He was quite an explosive player with great handles and a nice-looking shooting stroke. But once he blows past his defender, he gets stuck. His decision-making is mediocre, and he often has no idea what to do once he gets to the rim. The thing is, when he had a good game, he looked amazing. That potential, you could definitely see it, but he could not piece it together. Most players don't. Mentally, he was out of it too. In April of 2020, shortly after Kentucky's season ended, he witnessed his teammate and close friend Terrence Clark get killed in a car crash. BJ and his family were driving right behind him when they all witnessed Clark's death. After that, his preparations for the draft were stalled. BJ finished his lone season at Kentucky with averages of 11 points on 35% from the field and 30% from 3. He went from a lottery pick to the bottom of the second round. Some say he should have stayed another year at college to boost his draft stock back up. But you never know, it's possible he could have been even worse and go completely undrafted. He's the prime example of how one bad college season can destroy everything you've worked for. Patrick Baldwin Jr. Not as much of a severe case as the others, but Baldwin Jr. went from a top 10 prospect to a late first-round pick. However, he became widely known as the youngest player to ever receive an offer to play for Duke. When Baldwin Jr. was a sophomore in high school, Duke reached out to him to grant him a scholarship to play there. You add on all the other accolades as well, McDonald's All-American, Jordan Brand Classic, the Nike Hoop Summit, FIBA World Cup gold medal. Baldwin had a lot going for him, and he could see the path to success. You would think he'd accept this offer to Duke immediately, right? Well, no. Unfortunately, instead of accepting it, he decided to go a different path. He became the highest-ranking prospect to ever play for the Horizon League. For those who don't know what that is, it's just like any other D1 athletic conference. but it's only made up of 11 schools near the Great Lakes region. Of those schools, he decided to commit to Milwaukee. The reason being, yup, you guessed it, his father was the coach. Whenever you see a highly recruited player play for a lesser-known school in a weaker conference, it's usually related to family. Not only was he playing in a weaker conference now, but he was playing poorly. The dude was struggling against teams with players who, I don't want to say were complete randos, but they weren't even in the conversation to make the NBA. He was struggling against those guys. To make matters worse, Baldwin had multiple leg injuries early on. Then, after coming back and playing even worse, he sat out for the rest of the season for reasons unknown. The speculation was that his father probably sat him out on purpose so he doesn't hurt his draft stock even further. Honestly, I'm still surprised he got selected in the first round after tanking his one college season. The Warriors chose him with the 28th pick, but he's been hopping back and forth from the G League. But in the games he did play in the NBA, he looks alright. I think out of these 3 guys on this list, Baldwin has by far the best chance to create a decent career for himself. Anyway, that's all folks. Those were 3 former 5-star athletes who saw their value plummet for various reasons. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you foresee any of these guys having long careers? Or will they flame out quickly if they haven't already? Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.